the Blue Jackets lose a roller coaster of a game against the Florida Panthers in Florida, 5-4 in overtime. Now, I know I'm wearing the Cavs jacket from my last video where I talked about the Cavs winning over the Warriors. There's a reason for that. I'll get to it shortly. In the lineup, Andrew Peak draws in for David Yurchek, a bit of a head scratcher, but I guess give the hometown guy a shot in the lineup, I suppose. Matthew Olivier coming in for Emil Bemstrom, and Goodbranson seems to be playing through a bit of a lingering injury as he's been not practicing. He's just been playing in the games. Physicality, definitely a focal point against this Florida Panther lineup. And the first period starts, and it starts off pretty embarrassingly. You probably could have put the starting five for the Cavs out on the ice and got a similar result. Jackets starting the game, giving up 3 goals in the first 6 minutes and 9 seconds on 10 shots. Lomberg, Forsling, and Barkov back to back to back. Elvis Merzlikins getting pulled after the third goal. First goal was a pretty bad play. The next two, just the Panthers outplaying the Jackets in every way possible. Maybe the third one Elvis doesn't really like. Also, Elvis bailed out by 2 posts as well, so it could have been even more goals. Definitely putting the performance, the very little performance there was, into definitely like terrible, horrible, awful showing land. So Spencer Martin comes in the game, and he had to be pretty solid to keep it 3-0, as the Panthers' onslaught did not end there. Midway through the period, it was 16-1 in terms of shots on goal in the Florida Panthers' favor, obviously, and they get it to 21-1 at one point. However, then the fourth line getting a goal back for the Jackets, Corrali getting a rebound off of a Goodbranson attempt. And you know, getting a goal is nice. It makes it 3-1, but not necessarily. You still have to get a couple more, even if you go into the period down 3-1. Still not an ideal place to be in. But then Boone Jenner scores, going top shelf on goalie Bob on a 3-2 rush, which also coincidentally made it a 3-2 game. Now they've gone and given me a little hope. Despite getting tripled in shots, only down by 1 goal, headed into the second period. Thank you, goalie Bob. Things do settle down a good bit. Jackets doing a good job to not replicate how the first period started in the second period. Jackets actually getting some shots on goal this time around and not allowing prime chance after prime chance for Florida. And eventually the Jackets go on the power play after a delay of game penalty a little bit before midway through the second period. And on that power play, Kirill Marchenko would get his second of the season. In my opinion, kind of stealing one from Voronkov, who tipped a shot past Bobrovsky, with Kirill Marchenko finishing it off, making that game 3 apiece. It is a tie, and that would hold to the end of the second. So we are all the way back to even Stevens going into the third. Third period, things start getting a little bit chippy. Fantilli laying a big hit onto Carter Verhaeghe. That led to some Florida Panthers wanting an answer from Adam Fantilli, but all that Kevin Stenlund would get would be Voronkov forcing him to the ground in a comically short amount of time. Both of them getting 2-minute minors for roughing, and the Jackets actually getting a power play. I believe Cousins had an unsportsmanlike out of that. So the Jackets get a power play, but it's not able to replicate the success of the first power play. No goal there. So there was another scrum, this one involving Bobrovsky himself, with Spencer Martin getting to the blue line, thinking maybe we could have seen a goalie fight there, but Martin eventually just goes to the Jackets bench, kind of laughs it off a little bit. A bit of back and forth play follows that. Neither team able to break the tie initially, but then Texier gets in a 2-on-1 with Igor Chinakov. He attempts to pass it to Yegor, but it goes off of the Florida defender, hits the post, but Bobrovsky way out of position, and Texier was able to find a wide open net, giving Columbus a 4-3 lead. His first goal of the season, second point of the game, so his first 2 points all year coming against the Florida Panthers. However, pretty much right after this goal, Florida responding very well, pressing for an equalizer into the final TV timeout. The Panthers going empty a little bit earlier than normal, with the Blue Jackets getting an icing with a little more than 3 minutes left to go. Maybe it was a little bit of a message from Paul Maurice that, they've allowed 4 straight goals. They were getting some decent chances after the Jackets took the lead, but maybe they needed a little kick in the keister, and that's what that empty net did. Pretty much as soon as Bobrovsky left the net, it was all Florida. Spencer Martin needing to be sharp, and he definitely was. Jackets having trouble just clearing the puck, let alone getting any sort of good attempt at the empty net. Eventually, the pressure does become too much for Columbus, as Provorov would turn it over to Cousins in the slot, and he beats Martin 1-on-1 to tie the game at 4. Just a horrible moment a horrible turnover in a crucial moment of the game for Provorov. It's the final minute of the game. You can't be throwing it right to the other team like that in your own zone. Florida crowd coming alive. Panthers kind of threatened for another one before the end of regulation, but one doesn't come, and they go to overtime tied at 4. Jackets in that overtime don't get a whole lot going. A Texier Jenner 2-on-1 ends without a shot, and that led to a Florida 2-on-1 resulting in Carter Verhaeghe getting a goal off of a rebound, and that ends it 5-4 in overtime. So Severson on that 2-on-1, I don't think Severson defended the shot or the pass all that well, just kind of glided in between the two skaters. A shot was attempted, and another shot off the rebound was able to go in, so I'm not really sure what, I know you'd rather break up the pass in the middle, but if you're Damon Severson, just pick one. Either defend the guy carrying the puck up or defend the pass. Just pick one or the other, and that initial save probably gives you at least a chance to clear it. Hats off to Spencer Martin, where coming in when the team was essentially running around like chickens with their heads cut off, keeping it a 3-goal game. That allowed the Jackets to make that comeback over 2 periods, even taking the lead in the third. The 2 goals that he allowed late, one was off of a really bad turnover by Provorov, and the other was a quick rebound off of a 2-on-1. Quite literally not a whole lot he could do. So on one hand, the Jackets do get an overtime point in a game after they trailed 3-0 in pretty early in the first period. That doesn't happen all that often. They showed a lot of fight and a lot of resilience to get that game tied and even taking the lead. But on the other hand, you had a game where you were up by 1 goal in the final minute of the game. You'd like to be able to close those out, especially with some of the issues the Jackets have had in closing out games that have resulted in now, I think 3 overtime losses where they had leads in games and they're just not able to capitalize on them. So the game in general is just kind of a mixed bag, where the Jackets did very well in the mushy middle of the game. You take the first and the final 5 minutes and overtime out of that game, and the Jackets cruise to a comfortable win, but they started horribly and they ended the game horribly, and that's definitely going to be something that Pascal Vincent and the coaching staff has to work on this team moving forward. It might be a bit more of a long-term project than Jarmo might want it to be. I know Jarmo really wants to build a team that's competitive for the playoffs this year. I don't know if they'll get there, especially if they had a game like this where Spencer Martin comes in, plays fantastic for them. They actually do get him the goal support that's been missing the past couple of games. They get 4 goals, and they're just not able to put it together when they need to. They're not able to just get it together and close out a game in a non-eventful way. Instead, they allow a goal in the last minute. They look pretty lifeless in overtime, and this is the result that they get, where they get a point, but you could have very easily had 2. And that's going to do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you didn't make it this far into it, leave a like and a subscribe if you'd like it and you'd like to see more like it. I've covered most of the sports teams in Ohio. But once again, thank you for watching. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed it. I'll see you at the next one.